Hey everyone, welcome back to Ink and Frame, the show where we talk about movies and the books that inspired them. Today's offering is American Psycho, directed by Mary Herron, starring Christian Bale, based on Bret Easton Ellis's 1991 novel by the same name. Fair warning, we're going to be getting into a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, if you haven't read the book, and you want to go away and do that and come back and check out the episode, feel free to do that. It's a really interesting movie and book. Justin, what are your opinions on it?
Well, if you got to pick between the two, I'm gonna dive right off the end, and I'm gonna say watch the movie.
Yeah,
Um, the the book is just so heavy-handed with different types of food and different types of clothes and all these different plans that it almost takes you out of the violence and the psychotic aspect of it, which is I think what the author was going for. Um, but yeah, I mean overall the the movie was fantastic, and the book was good when I finally got to the end. It kind of paid off in that way that I was waiting for that the movie gave you straight away.
yeah. Uh, I I'm surprised, but I think I'm gonna have to agree. When we first started planning out Ink and Frame and comparing the book to the movie, I thought 99% of the time it was gonna go book. You know what I mean? Like book being better.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, and as I got further and further into the book, I was like, "Oh crap! I think this is going to be the first one where I pick the movie, and it's only the second episode."
I know. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing because I mean, I just had the movie was so great. I had such high hopes for the book, and then it just feels like an endless list.
Yeah, every time I go to Barnes and Noble within like the last year, I walk around, I look at the horror section, I go, "Oh, American Psycho! Today's the day." I pick it up, I walk around with it for a while, and then I see something else, and I put it back on the shelf. So I was pretty excited to have a reason to read it, and then uh, right away, like you said, it's so heavy with the what everyone's wearing, and then the skin routine chapter that's just like endless. And it's like, okay, I get what he's doing here. He's showing his personality, how obsessed he is with like brand names and status and all this stuff. And
He
I
just
was
wants to
like,
fit in,
it's
man.
it's not going to be the whole book. And then it was the whole book. I didn't think
100%.
you really needed every single person who enters the story to have their clothing explained, and
Yeah, I was about halfway through the book. I was like, I think the writer was on just as much coke as every single person that was in this.
yeah, I mean, that's definitely a
Wait, did I say
possibility.
writer or editor?
Right.
Yeah, editor as well.
Yeah, I definitely think there was a point to doing that in the beginning, but I think one way that the movie was a little bit stronger was that they showed that up front, and then they didn't do it the entire film. Like if they would have spent the entire film explaining every single character's clothing, but I guess you don't have to explain it when you can see it. But
True. And after reading the book and trying to watch the movie, I did try to like observe their outfits a little more. And I'm like, they're in a suit. He's got a red tie. You know what I mean?
yeah, I don't know that I could tell an expensive suit from a cheap suit if I'm being honest.
Yeah. And then like another way that the book does that well, or I'm sorry, the movie does that well, is they start with there is no real me, only an entity.
Yeah,
That speech is at the end of the book, and then it's in the beginning of the movie.
yeah. So just to talk a little bit about the differences, I think that most of, if not, well, definitely not all of, but most of the dialogue comes straight from the book. Like the only real difference between the book and the movie is like we were talking about the explanations of everyone's clothing and expensive electronics and stuff, and like
Mhm.
the order that everything happens. Some scenes are kind of mashed into one, which you see that a lot in adaptations.
I feel like they did
And
that well in
yeah,
the movie.
I thought it was really well done. I even watched an interview between what's her name, Mary Herron and Christian Bale and Bret Easton Ellis, and they all seem to like get along. Like Bret Easton Ellis said he liked the movie. He said it clarified the themes of the book and it elevated the comedy to the surface. You know what I mean? He said a
Hmm.
lot of people had trouble like realizing that it was supposed to be funny. I think they did a really good job in the movie of showing the comedy and like Christian Bale's acting was just amazing. It's like the casting was perfect, the script was perfect. I think they could like teach this in film school as like this is how you take a book and turn it into a movie. And I don't know if you felt this way, but I felt like there was not really a plot line to the book. Like there was no like story beats. It was just literally like glimpses into his life at different points. The only real like through line or like change throughout the book was like maybe he got like crazier as the book went along.
Right. Yeah, and even with the book, there's a lot of times where you're in the middle of some kill scene or something, and it's like, anyway, so now we're at the Christmas party.
Yeah. Which
The way
again,
that it jump cuts so hard,
I
there's no night and day or this or that or to gauge off of. You're just kind of going off of what's being told.
yeah, there's even some chapters that start mid sentence. You know what I
I
mean?
didn't notice that.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly which one it is, but it like literally started like right in the middle of the action, and it was like, oh wow. And we were talking about earlier. There was uh, it's like later in the movie, or no, sorry, later in the book. There's like this huge action sequence, and then like full stop. There's a cut straight to like Huey Lewis in the news.
Full discography review. It's
Yeah,
16 minutes long, and it's not bad. I was curious. Have you listened to Huey Lewis in the news? Are you
yeah.
familiar?
So I was doing the audiobook for this, and I'm listening to it on the way to work when that chapter hits. And as soon as I get to work, I stop the book and I go on my music app and I hit Huey Lewis in the news greatest hits, and I'm like jamming to Huey Lewis on the way into work.
It's some good
It's
shit,
so
right?
good. The music is so good.
It really is.
It's what I would call like movie music. You've heard so many of those songs in like a million different movies.
Yeah, a lot of great hits.
Yeah,
Obviously, hip to be square.
yeah.
Stuck with you. That's a great one.
Uh, Back in time.
Yeah,
I think he wrote like a couple, at least one, but maybe two songs for Back to the Future.
yeah, yeah.
You also get a full chapter on Genesis and Whitney
Oh, I didn't
Houston.
realize that. Yeah, Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
and to be
and I
honest, I didn't know that Phil Collins went through so much shit in Genesis. So that was
um
a little enlightening as a sidebar in the murder
yeah, I don't
spree.
I don't know much about I don't know much about Whitney Houston, Genesis, or Huey Lewis in the News. Like I learned more about them through this book than I ever knew before. I thought they did a good job of taking those sequences that you would think would be impossible to commit to film, like those three chapters. They worked them into the story really well. Like I didn't remember the movie very much going into this, so I went for the book first and then the movie, and I was like, "There's no way they're including the Huey Lewis, Whitney Houston, and Genesis chapters." But then, we get to one of the kills, and he comes out in the raincoat with the axe, and he's dancing, and he's like talking about Huey Lewis, and I was like, "No fucking way
Oh
did
yeah,
they
him
put
and
it in
Paul
the
Allen.
movie." Yeah, Paul Owen in the book, Paul Allen in the movie.
It's a song about how conformity is a good thing.
Yeah, it was interesting to see his personality. He's doing all these violent things and having all these violent thoughts, but when he's like talking to his friends, he's got he tries to have that air of moral superiority, and we gotta work on getting back to conventional social values, and he really tried to play the moral high card when he's like out committing murder and a lot of sexual violence, and
Yeah, the through theme of the Patty Winters show, was that a real show or is that just like an equivalent of your breakfast?
I think I think it was not a real show. I forgot to look it up. I meant to look it up. It was actually my favorite, but my favorite like reoccurring bit in the whole book.
Yeah, just the
Like I
different
was a
themes
little
that they
bit,
were talking about.
yeah, I was a little bit sad that it didn't make it into the movie.
Hmm.
Did they mention it all in the movie? Do you know? Do you remember?
No, but you're right. It would have been a good thing, just like in the background in the office or something like that.
So for those who've only seen the movie and haven't read the book, throughout the whole story, he keeps coming back to like, I have to catch the Patty Winters episode today, and I got to watch a recording of the Patty Winters show.
Did
And
you see today's show? It was about dolphins with autism.
yeah, I actually have a whole list here of the different episodes. So you got
Oh,
your
you have the
your
actual ones.
I don't know if it's an exhaustive list, but I have most of them. So
Okay.
you get a lot of regular ones, like today's episode was about salad bars, aerobic exercise, uh, trying to find some of the more normal ones. Spuds McKenzie was on one episode.
Hmm.
Dorman from Nell's, Where Are They Now? Which Nell's was one of the nightclubs they were going to.
Hmm.
Uh, but then you get ones like teenage girls who trade sex for crack. Uh,
And yeah, I felt like that was the theme with the show, the Patty Winter show as well. Whereas the book went on, the subjects on the show also got a little bit more perverted.
yeah, they got more perverted, but then there was even like the crazy ones. So you got ones like UFOs, possibility nuclear war, shark attack victims. And then, like you said, you got the ones like teenage girls who trade sex for crack, women who married homosexuals, home abortion kits. Let me see. There's two specifically that I really loved. Okay. My favorite one, Bigfoot was interviewed on the Patty Winters show this morning, and to my shock, I found him surprisingly articulate and charming.
I missed that one.
And then there was one that was like, today on the Patty Winters show, a what was it? A Cheerio was interviewed in a small chair for hours, or for like close to an hour and a half, something like that. But
Yeah.
basically, oh, here it is. On the Patty Winters show this morning, a Cheerio sat in a very small chair and was interviewed for close to an hour.
Okay, so and then I feel like this is kind of relevant. The murders were never actually, because we don't know if a Cheerio was in a chair or not. The murders were never actually confirmed, right?
No. Like that's part of the whole story is like you don't know if he's actually doing this stuff or not. And Bret Easton Ellis himself has said that he never really thought it was that interesting to answer that question. He said like through the whole time he was writing the book, he would go back and forth of like, did this really happen? Did this not really happen? And in the end, he kind of came to a conclusion of it doesn't matter, or it's not as interesting to answer the question as it is to just, leave it ambiguous.
Respect that.
Yeah. And within that interview that I watched with the director, the writer, and Christian Bale, she said one of her regrets is that everyone thought that it was just a dream. She said she wanted to just leave it ambiguous like the book, but everyone kept telling her that, they thought it was just a dream or that nothing really happened or, you know.
It does kind of have that effect, and I ended up watching the extended cut on Amazon. Turned out to be the free version. Um, and the way that it continues, whereas I think the other one just kind of left off, um, it does appear because he ends up going back into regular life, and after the meeting with the lawyer,
Hmm.
when he confronts him in the restaurant, he's like, "I really killed those fucking people,"
Yeah.
you know, and he's like, "This joke isn't funny anymore." After that, he goes back to regular life and also to killing, as does the
Did it, sh-
book. But
did it show that he went back to killing in the movie?
I don't think so. No, I think they just went back to a scene of them, hanging out around the table bullshitting.
Yeah, they end up all just sitting around talking about the same stuff they have been the whole time.
Was there any stark differences from the book and the movie that you felt like was notable?
Uh, all the recurring bits were a lot heavier. in the book, like
Mm.
the Patty Winters show, the I Gotta Return Some Videotapes, the um, a lot more violence in the book.
I was legitimately disturbed by the book. Felt inappropriate listening to it a little bit. It gets
Yeah,
really
I was
in there, man.
yeah, when I was riding to work with my brother one day, I'm listening to I'm trying to think of it was one of the scenes with a lot of graphic sex in it, and I got my headphones in, so I think he's listening to something on his headphones, but I'm not sure. So I'm just like hoping that it's not loud enough for him to pick up on what I'm listening to. And like
Yeah.
even when I'm like walking around work listening to the book, I'm like, God, I hope nobody knows the stuff
Yeah.
that's going
In
on in
your
my ears right
in
now.
your ears, it's like I put her over there, and then I put her over there, and then I take the finger, and I think I'm gonna eat that actually.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a little jarring being in public listening to that.
What about the cameos? In
Like
the book we get a Tom Cruise cameo.
yeah, that's great. I love that he like misremembers the name of the movie that he's in.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the shoot, I'm trying to remember. Oh, he was like, I loved you in Bartender. It was like just
Right.
cocktails.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
Cuz that's such a blow to Tom Cruise's ego. Like there's a through line in the book about all these guys' egos and they're constantly like competing with each other and trying to one up each other and can
Hmm.
you imagine you meet a famous movie star and you misname the movie that they were in? That's got to really sting.
That's gonna suck, yeah.
Lot of mentions of Donald Trump.
A lot.
He's constantly trying to like see Donald Trump or be around Donald Trump. I thought
Almost
that was
two
kind of
Ivanka
interesting.
Trump sightings.
Yeah, right.
So Evelyn thinks that she sees Ivanka Trump, and he just progressively gets more and more pissed off as the dinner goes along that she thought she saw her.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a reoccurring theme in the book too is the mistaken identity. So like everybody's always confusing everybody for someone else. They did that a little bit in the movie, but in the book, it's literally like every scene people are getting mistaken for other people. So much so that like Paul Allen or Owen, depending on if you're talking movie or book, mistakes Patrick Bateman as uh what's his name? Something Halberstam.
Oh, Halberstam. Yeah, he's like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, that was
there
one thing
you.
that was confusing is how they changed the names in the movie because I think that the people in the book were based on real people, so they had to change the names in the movie to make sure that they didn't get sued.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. That's why
Huh.
you get Tim Price being Tim Bryce and then you get Paul Allen, Paul Owen, Halberstam and Halverstam, something like that.
Huh. Yeah, that makes a little more sense now. I was trying to, get them all down so that I could be able to list specific names, and now I understand why it was so hard for me to keep up. I was like, yeah, all these names are different.
Yeah, there's a lot of names in the book, but there's really only a few characters that keep coming back over and over again. One character, Tim Price, I don't want to say I liked him because he's a bad person, but I
Right.
really liked his character in the book, and I was kind of wondering where he went halfway through. I was like, we haven't got anything from Tim Price in like hundreds of pages, and
Yeah.
he reemerges at the very end, and I didn't really see a point in that.
No, and I was trying to figure out what they were alluding to with the mark that may or may not be on his forehead. Did you get
Yeah, I
anything out
didn't
of
get
that?
that either. Yeah, I didn't get that either.
I was like, maybe it's Ash Wednesday. Maybe he's Hare Krishna. I don't know.
I heard they may be doing a remake.
With Margot Robbie.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. Is
Oh,
that true?
okay.
Did you see that?
While I was doing some research today, I found there was an ad where she does the whole skincare routine.
Hmm.
They do the mask pull and stuff like that. It's all shot for shot. And they were like, is Margot Robbie gonna be the, you know, American Psycho reboot?
Well, from what I heard, Austin Butler is set to play Patrick Bateman. I don't actually know that much about him. I saw some pictures of him. He looks like he could fit the part. I don't know how his acting is.
Hmm.
If you were to cast Patrick Bateman for a remake, do you have any thoughts on who could play him?
Well, no, I guess he's too old now. I was going to say Leo DiCaprio. Um, but he was
I
actually
think
supposed
they
to be
might
in
have
the
can.
movie, and I think he got talked out of it.
Yeah, I think he was in the running to play him in the original.
Yeah, I'm not really great with newer actors, but I guess maybe Timothy Chalamet could give it a crack.
Yeah, I had the same issue when I was thinking about this because I don't know a lot of younger modern actors.
Yeah.
Uh, Chris said, Jake Gyllenhaal potentially, and I thought that would be a great
Mhm.
casting, like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
He seems a little bit too old now. Nick
Hmm.
said Austin Butler, who is rumored to play him in the remake, or Robert Pattinson, which I also thought was a good choice.
Oh, I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah, I was poking
myself.
around a little bit online about what other people thought, and a lot of people said Glenn Howerton, but it's the same issue. He plays Dennis in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I think he's got the
Mm.
the personality to do it, but I don't know. Like I said, he's too old, and I don't know that he's really got the physique or the looks to play Bateman.
Yeah, they'd
Uh,
have to do like a middle-aged version.
yeah, for me, my top choice would be Bill Skarsgård. You know who
Okay,
that is?
respect that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think he has the capacity to play like a handsome but also like well dressed, articulate kind of bad guy, you
secretly a
know?
psychopath.
Yeah, he could switch from like looking normal and innocent to like psychopathic like instantly. All right, let's jump into the book here a little bit. We open the book, we start out at Evelyn's house. They're having dinner. It's Bateman, Tim Price, Evelyn, Courtney, and then two unimportant characters that really they get mentioned maybe one or two more times, but they never actually show up again. I don't think. Vanden and Stash, two kind of artsy, kind of I don't know, burnout maybe.
Art students.
Yeah, kind of yeah, that kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah. I guess maybe they were in there to kind of give an example of where these guys are at and where they stand on opinions of people who aren't in their sector.
Yeah, they really look down on Vanden and Stash. You know,
Yeah.
there's a couple jabs they made at him. Uh, so yeah, I'm going through this chapter and I'm like, I'm wondering if we made the right choice with American Psycho because I'm like, we're getting all these names and like, I'm like, is this just going to be like full of people that I can't remember and
Hmm.
all of his friends are like interchangeable. You can't really like tell anybody apart, and that ends up being like a common theme throughout the whole book.
Hmm.
Uh, you find out that Evelyn is most likely cheating on Patrick Bateman with Tim Price or Bryce if you're the movie fan. Uh,
But Bateman doesn't mind very much because he's actually cheating with Courtney.
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, everybody's cheating on everybody in this book. Nobody really gives a shit about it. There's a bit where he accidentally sends uh, Evelyn and this other chick to the same restaurant to meet him, and then like
That was hilarious.
Evelyn ends up staying with him afterwards. As we go through the book here, I'm probably going to skip a lot of stuff because like after this, I think is when we get like his skincare routine and just tons and tons of lists of clothing and restaurants and uh, we skip forward a little bit. We get to the best thing to come out of American Psycho, the business card scene.
Oh, truly classic scene. I mean,
Yeah,
just goes down in history.
yeah. It's one of the best. It's one of the best memes to come out of any movie ever. Like I love seeing all the different takes on the business cards. Like I've seen it edited to where instead of business cards, they're pulling out like Pokemon cards. I
Hmm.
saw one the other day where it wasn't even cut over the original scene. It was like different people acting out the scene, but instead they were doing fidget toys. So the guy had
Oh,
like a
that's great.
poppet, and I think the other guy had one of those little cubes where you push the buttons and spin the little dials or whatever. So they're all like comparing their fidget toys, and he's like sweating, and I can't believe Price prefers his fidget toy to mine, kind of thing.
Hmm.
We get a lot of great memes out of this movie. Uh, there's the business cards, then there's the where he does the face where he's like, "Ooh, yeah."
Yeah,
Like that one's great. You get like him with the headphones on. A lot of memeable moments in the movie.
very memeable.
Yeah.
And that
Uh,
one, the one of him at the record player, that one's an old internet. I don't even think that one's still popping as a meme.
yeah. Yeah, there's they even like him with the axe and stuff. You get a ton of memes out of this.
Hmm.
Um Moving along, we get to the scene at I can't remember if it was Tunnel or Deck Chairs or one of the other clubs where this I think this is the point in the book where Tim Price like runs down the tracks at Tunnel and then he like disappears completely until the end of the book.
Hmm.
You don't really feel his disappearance in the movie because you don't really the movie's really more about Patrick, so you don't get as much of his friends in the movie.
Hmm.
So I didn't really feel him disappearing. They mention in the end when he comes back, like, and even Tim Price was back, and it's like, yeah, he never really left.
Oh, I
Uh,
didn't even catch that in the movie. Yeah, it's pretty insignificant.
yeah, on the when they're doing that scene at the club, I like how they first show the bit where Bateman will like talk to people and he doesn't really hear like the evil shit that he's saying. So like he goes to order the drink and she won't take the drink ticket and she turns around and he's like he gives her the "you're a fucking ugly bitch and I want to stab you to death and play around with your blood" line. And then
Hmm.
she turns back around like she didn't hear anything, and that's like recurring through the whole movie. You get that a bunch.
Yeah, again, alluding to did he actually say it or did he not say it? I'm into
Right.
murders and executions.
Yeah.
Oh, I know a
Well,
lot of people that are into murders and acquisitions.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's clear that nobody gives a fuck about what anyone else is saying. Everybody's so self-involved that they can't even hear like a psychopath in front of them telling them that they want to kill them or, bathe in their blood. Yeah, I thought they did that really effectively in the movie.
Yeah. Even like the last dinner when he's with Evelyn before he breaks up with her. I think he starts it with like, my mass desire for murder can't be stopped. And because of that, we need to s- get out of this relationship. And she's like, I'm sorry I brought up the wedding. Okay.
Yeah, let's just move on. Forget
And
I
he's
said
like, I'm
anything.
not. And he's like literally in the middle of their crayons, I assume. And he's drawing the chainsaw murder on the paper.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Evelyn, I really thought they underused Reese Witherspoon in this movie. I thought that was a great casting, and she's definitely a bigger part of the book than she is the movie.
Yeah. Um, it definitely, one thing that they left out of the movie, well, I guess it didn't really need a payoff, but whenever she eats the uh, Dove bar, that's actually a urinal cake. That was
Yes.
fucking brutal.
Yeah. We're gonna get to that.
It's so minty.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really sad that that scene didn't make it into the movie because, the scene made it into the movie, but that part right there specifically, like if you're already filming the scene, you got to do that bit. It's so good.
Yeah, because the way that I feel like in the book they almost left on kind of good terms, but then in the movie they make it pretty clear he's like, I'm getting out of here. We're done.
Yeah. Stop making a scene. If you want to do something for me, stop making a scene right now. Uh,
Dinner with toddlers.
yeah. Moving along, we end up at his run in with Tom Cruise, like you mentioned in the elevator, and then I skipped over. Oh, okay, let's back up just a little bit. When we're getting when we get the business card scene, in the book, not in the movie, he's so distraught by the comparison of the business cards, which really all look the same. I think they have misspellings on them, and like it's so goofy to see all the business cards that look exactly the same. But he's so mad that he can't think about anything else. And then one of his friends keeps suggesting the red snapper pizza, red snapper pizza, red snapper pizza. He's
It's
like, God
brutal.
damn it, we're not ordering the red snapper pizza. It's disgusting. The pizza here sucks. Nobody wants it. Blah blah blah. And then,
But
uh,
I don't think he'd even tried it. I think that he had read an article that said that it was dry and brittle.
yeah,
And he was like, I'm standing on the article.
he's very dependent on his Zagat guide.
Absolutely.
He goes on a date later, and the chick brings up that her it's like one of his ex girlfriends he goes on a date with, and she brings up that her current boyfriend is a chef and a co-owner of a restaurant. And he goes, which one is it? And then under his breath, he mumbles, so I can cross it out of my Zagat guide. He's they're so reliant on,
Culture, really.
yeah, they never want to go
What's
to a
hip, what's
bar or a club
trending.
that's not, yeah, trendy or hip anymore.
Yeah.
I think they go to like one club where there's no one at, and they're like mad because nobody goes here anymore, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I bring up the red snapper pizza because after we get the run in with Donald Trump, a little bit later in the book, the guy that he was pissed off at about the red snapper pizza comes back and he's like, "Did you see this article where Donald Trump says Pastels has the best pizza in New York?" And he has to like walk back his opinion of the red snapper pizza.
Yeah.
And also, red snapper pizza, like who puts fish on pizza? All of the food in this book sounded disgusting. It was like squid sausage or like, no, squid lasagna. There was like, I can't even remember. All of it was
I
disgusting.
wanted to, but yeah, there was so much of it and so extensively listed that I just couldn't.
All of
And I
it
mean,
had some kind of,
I would try red snapper pizza, but at the same time, it's like, where, where would it even exist?
yeah, all of it had like,
Where's all these anchovies that were supposed to be on pizza? I feel like we heard about that a lot in
oh,
the '90s
that's
as
true.
well, and that never happened.
I guess there is fish on pizza. I didn't even think about anchovies.
Yeah, but
But
I've never encountered it in my life.
every dish had some kind of like fruit incorporated into it, some like raspberry drizzle sauce or some apricot jam. And it's just like, I don't know. Maybe I've just never really eaten at like a five-star restaurant, but all of the food just sounded disgusting to me.
Yeah, I will say, if you ever encounter a sushi that's got a fruit in it, you got to go for it. It's banging every time.
Are you talking
I've
about
yet
just
to
like rice
encounter
and fruit? Or are you talking about like rice, fish, and fruit?
rice, fish, and fruit.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've had mango and lemon.
I feel like you can get away with mango. There's mango salsas and stuff. I'm not saying fruit can never be incorporated with food, but the way that they were putting these dishes together was just disgusting.
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty strange stuff, but Italian, it's popping.
Yeah, it must be. I just don't get it.
Yeah,
Uh, After that, we get to like the laundry scene, which was funny to me. This was like the first time that you think like maybe these murders are happening because he's got the blood stains in his sheets and other people can see the blood stains. He takes it to the
yeah.
laundry. Well, why can't you get this stain out? If you're supposed to be the best in town, you should be able to get this stain out. And then his like old acquaintance comes in and she's like, can you deal with these people? I just can't. I can't get through to them. Yeah, that chick ends up trying to make a date with him. I like that in the movie where he was like, "Yeah, I'm just so busy," and she's like, "Well, what about Saturday?" And he looks, "Next Saturday." Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm busy. I can't. And then like runs out the door.
I'm going to see a matinee of Les Miserables.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So many mentions of Les Miserables in the book that I was like, all right, I get it. Les Miserables. Yeah, it's everywhere. Moving along, we finally get to some violence. It takes forever to finally get to the violence in the book. He daydreams about it a lot. He mentions it sometimes. He talks about serial killers, but it takes a while before we actually get to some violence. And I think the first instance of that is when he stabs the homeless man and breaks his dog's legs.
And it's interesting how they set up the scene because they almost set it up like he's going to help him, like he's offering to give him $1 or something. And then as he gets closer, he's like, "Why don't you get a fucking job?"
Yeah. I like when he's like, "Why'd you lose your job? Drinking, insider trading," and he just like
Hmm.
laughs at him, just laughs right in his face while he's like offering to give him money, and the guy's just so appreciative of the help. He's like, "Oh, thank you, Mister. Thank you for helping me." And then he's,
You smell like shit.
yeah, I'm sorry, we just don't have anything in common. And then he stabs him in the eye, and you don't see it in the movie, but you hear him like break the dog's legs. Like I think he
Hmm.
stomps the dog.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was one thing the director was saying. She wasn't that into like body horror, so she really didn't have that much desire to like show the violence on screen. So that's kind of why you get a little bit of the violence, but mostly it's like cut away. You get the blood splatter, or like with breaking the dog's legs, you can hear it, but you don't really get to see it. It's not, not like I'm like upset that I didn't get to see a dog get its legs broken or anything, but
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that does make it a better piece for Hollywood and maybe a more of a staple as a movie. Whereas there's still quite a bit of gore, but you're not fully getting into the body horror stuff.
yeah, I do like body horror a lot though. That's one of the
Mm.
reasons I really enjoyed The Blob from last month. Yeah, so he stabs the guy, breaks his legs. We come across him later in the story, uh, towards the end, and he's blind and his dog's legs are broken, but he's holding a sign. You don't get this in the movie, but it's in the book. And that's another example of like maybe this did actually happen because this guy is blind and his dog's fucked up.
Yes.
And then Bateman like whispers in his ear like you were never in Vietnam because that's what his sign's alluding to is that he got hurt in Vietnam. And he's like,
Yeah.
please don't hurt me. But again, it's just ambiguous enough because like if I was blind and someone was like whispering in my ear calling me a liar and like I'd be kind of nervous too.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. And
I
he never mentions like you're the guy from before or whatever. It
yeah
does keep it ambiguous in that way.
yeah I mean yeah we'll get to a few more examples of that. Uh, then we come to one of my favorite scenes. The scene was or one of my favorite chapters. It was called "A Glimpse of a Thursday Afternoon,"
Hmm.
and he's just like frantically. I think this might be the one that starts like mid sentence, but he's like frantically like running around town. Uh he calls his secretary, which I guess this is the first time we're mentioning her, Jean, and he's
Hmm.
like, "I'm not gonna make it to work," and she's like, "Why?" And he hits her with the like, "Just say no," which is another reoccurring thing that happens over and over again. Just say no, Jean.
Yeah. That was another thing that I hadn't considered that the book kind of provided was that it was during the Reagan era.
Hmm.
So that just say no, like it really gets that extra boost out of just the time frame that it was in.
Yeah, it's a real timepiece. More so now than it was when the movie came out in 2000 because it'd only been about
Hmm.
10 years since the 80s then.
Yeah.
Uh, but now it's really interesting to look back and see all the stuff from the 80s, even like the music with the Huey Lewis and the News and the Genesis and the Whitney Houston. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, this scene is hilarious though. I've got it written down so I wouldn't forget. He buys like some butcher knives, an axe, or hydrochloric acid, some rats to torture later, but then he like leaves the rats somewhere. He ends up shoplifting a canned ham and opening it up and stuffing handfuls of the ham into his mouth. He throws up the ham, buys two copies of the same CD, knocks over a fruit stand. He buys some crack and then eats it in front of the guy. Uh, he runs into like a kosher restaurant and orders a burger with cheese, and oh, you can't, it's kosher. And he's like, okay, well then I'll just take uh some a milkshake. Oh, can't, it's kosher. And he's like, he keeps asking for the same stuff over and over again. She's like, I'll get the manager. He's like, well then I'll just take this. And she's like, can't, kosher.
Hmm.
I don't know. There's the zaniness of this scene. There's so much contrast between when he's like, going throughout his day talking to his friends, when he's normal, and then when he's having these like manic episodes where he's running around and eating weird stuff and throwing up and buying stuff and losing it, and
Yeah.
it yeah, it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde type story where you got his normal personality and then you got his crazy side. And
That is a
that's one
good
thing.
way to put it.
Yeah, that's one thing the book did well, I think.
Yeah. Because like you said, it really does do a good job of going like back and forth from like this is us at lunch and we're having all these opinions about social interactions and things like that, and then like so anyways, I fucking
Yeah, yeah. uh what did you think of the plot line with Lewis Carruthers? Because again, this is the first time we're mentioning Lewis. He is Courtney's boyfriend, and Courtney is the girl that he's cheating on Evelyn with.
Mhm.
Uh,
I
so
think
we
he's
get a.
also the opinion of the pizza as well.
I don't. I actually don't think it was Lewis that liked the Pete. Well, it might have been. You might be right
Because I
about that.
thought that he was worried about him being mad at the dinner, and he's like, oh shit, he probably knows that me and Courtney are together. And then he comes up and he's like, hey, so about that pizza,
No, I think it was
is
McDermott.
that different?
Honestly, I think it was
Okay,
McDermott because if you remember, Carruthers is quite fond of Patrick Bateman.
that is true.
Yeah. I feel like Lewis in the movie was way more obviously gay than Lewis in the book.
Very obviously gay in the movie. Um, yeah, in the book, it just kind of alludes to he's just kind of hanging around. He's a little bit of a suck ass. But
Yeah.
then it doesn't get weird until the actual scene where they're in the bathroom and he's got his hands around his neck.
Yeah. When I was picturing him in the book, I kind of pictured him just like everybody else. Uh, Obviously, gay people are just like everybody else. I'm not trying to say that, but he in the book it reads like he's just one of the other guys, and nobody can tell that he's gay until he admits it to Patrick. But in the
Hmm.
movie, the second I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely gay.
That dude's gay.
It's like he's not even trying to hide it.
No,
So I thought maybe they were a little bit heavy handed with the movie in that aspect, but
yeah, and it's it's interesting that he made it out alive.
Lewis, yeah.
Yeah, because he was
Well,
ready to go in public.
I kind of wonder if there isn't a hint of Patrick being gay.
Oh,
One of the reasons I
fucking
say that
Tommy.
is I think at some point in the book, so Lewis is like confessing to Patrick that he like loves him,
Hmm.
and Bateman tells him that he doesn't find him sexually attractive.
Oh,
He
okay.
never actually, I don't think he ever actually said he's not gay.
Hmm.
And then
I
he
hadn't
rents
considered
that.
that. I thought he was just kind of having conversation with him. I hadn't even considered that way.
Well, he also rents that movie, She-Male Reformatory.
Okay. Another
You
one
know
that
what I'm
got
talking about?
lost. Yeah, another one that got
She,
lost in the list of things for me.
yeah, She-Male Reformatory and Body Double were the ones he kept renting, and he kept renting Body Double because he liked to masturbate to the scene of the chick getting killed with the power drill. Like
Nice.
he mentions, like he doesn't want to, or he's like, I'm gonna rent Body Double again, even though because of my date with Courtney, I won't have time to go home and masturbate over the power drill scene. And even when he's like at the video rental store, he mentions it's one of those things where he says it and they pretend not to hear him or they don't notice it. But he
Hmm.
mentions to the cashier that he likes the scene where she gets drilled to death or whatever. I can't remember if he tells her that he masturbates to it or not, but you may realize as I'm like explaining these, like none of this stuff is really like a cohesive story. It's all just like little vignettes, little moments out of his life. Because then he has a date with Courtney at one point, and he gets a prostitute, and he calls an escort. And this is the scene where we get the Genesis description in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, he brings up the two. I guess it's basically just two prostitutes up to his apartment, and has them be together, and then he's with them, and then at the end of it, when
Oh,
they
that's
think,
when he's talking about Genesis. Whenever she's in the bathtub and the other girl shows up.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Okay.
that's exactly right.
Huh.
And then, they have sex or whatever, and this is the first time he does that. I can't remember. I think this is the one where they film it and he's doing like all the muscle poses in the camera.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then it's like later on, the lights are out, they're laying in bed, and one of the girls asks if they can leave, and he goes, we're not through yet, and he opens the drawer and he gets out the coat hanger, and they leave all fucked up and scratched up and bruised, and
Yeah, and they just think it's a regular fucked up dude. They're making a bunch of money. They're like, oh, I'm never doing that again.
yeah. After that, we come along to the Christmas segment, the Christmas party, and him doing the Christmas shopping. That's where like Lewis. I think when he's doing the Christmas shopping, that's where Lewis comes up and admits that he's in love with him. Um, we get the part where someone is talking to him about the Japanese, and it gets him all fired up. So he kills a Japanese delivery guy, and he finds out that it's a Chinese guy, and he's mad because he killed the wrong type of Asian.
You know,
Yeah,
it happens when you're losing your mind, man.
yeah, and I bring that up because at the Christmas party, he gives Evelyn a fortune cookie with blood on it. So this is another instance of him showing like this stuff might actually be happening, because she notices
Mhm.
the blood and she said, "What is that?" And he said, "Sweet and sour sauce." So did he really kill the Asian, or did he? Is it really sweet and sour sauce? You never really get any closure on any of this stuff, and it was kind of getting annoying at one point. I was like, is there any stakes or not? I can't tell. Like,
Right. Well, obviously, I mean, if anything, the stakes are real to him.
that's
So
true.
it's like on that level, it stays intense.
Yeah, I could see that.
But then, like, even as far as trying to, figure out whether he did or he didn't do anything, I'd even tried to go back to the part where he runs into the real estate agent at Paul Allen's house or Paul Owen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, and I, when I first watched the movie, I was like, no, this is definitely a clear indication that like they cleaned up some shit here. And she's like, you need to get out. But when you watch it in the movie and read it in the book, it still comes across as like she just feels uneasy by this dude. He's not her appointment. You should leave. Don't come back.
Yeah, because she tests him with asking him, did you read about this in the Times or whatever?
Mhm.
And she's like, there was no Times article. Yeah, so it
Dun,
could
dun,
be that they
dun.
had to clean up a bunch of bodies, or that she just feels uneasy because this creepy guy is poking around and he doesn't have an appointment, and he seems like he
Oh,
just sit.
Paul Allen's in London.
Yeah, allegedly. After this chapter, there's one, Nels, and they in this chapter he indicates that he has to have a meeting with his lawyer to discuss some bogus SA charges, and that's another indication of like maybe he is doing some crazy stuff, but he refers to
Yeah.
them as bogus charges. So like, he's doing all this violent stuff. Why wouldn't he admit to doing this one thing? Why would he call it bogus if he actually was this kind of murderous kind of guy?
Yeah. Did they get into the details on that, or did I feel like I'm
No.
blanking on that one?
No, that's another
It was
thing they
just
just mention and
bogus.
move right past. There's so much like fucked up stuff that he does that like they never have to like stop on any one thing for too long. They never revisit it. They never give any like closure to what happens with the charges or anything.
Yeah.
We're finally moving into what happens fairly quickly in the movie, but it takes a long time to get to it in the book. Is when he kills Paul Owen with the axe. So we get this scene where he goes out to lunch with Paul Owen or Paul Allen. I'm just gonna probably continue to call him Owen just because there was more of the book, so I'm more familiar with that name.
Mhm.
Uh, he keeps mixing up Bateman with Marcus Halberstram
Mhm.
in the movie. he so much so he even makes the reservations as Halberstam, and he shows up. Owen's already wasted. Uh, he's trying to get information on the Fisher account because Owen has the Fisher account, and he's really upset about that. He wants more
It's got to be a
information on
good
the Fisher
account.
account. It's
Yeah.
really the only time they actually mention his work. Through this whole movie, he's supposed to be like this Wall Street guy, and you never once see him doing any kind of work.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say there's a mention of a couple accounts, but the one that comes up keeps coming up is the Fisher account, and that's
Mhm.
the only mention of their work that they're doing.
Yeah.
But they don't even
I
talk
mean,
about the work. It's just like I have the account. I'm the guy.
right. Well, Bret Easton Ellis doing research for this, because this actually didn't start out as like a serial killer kind of thing.
Hmm.
He was hanging out with a bunch of Wall Street guys, and they never wanted to meet at their offices. They always wanted to meet at these swanky clubs and fancy restaurants and stuff. So he's meeting with these guys, and they never care about work. They only care about stereo equipment and clothes and stuff. And he said he was having dinner with them one day, and it just clicked that he's a serial killer. Patrick Bateman's a serial killer, and that's when the whole story shifted, and that's how we got the story that we have now.
Interesting.
Yeah. He
Bit of a
takes
learned experience.
right. He takes Owen back to his apartment, and Owen's so drunk he doesn't even notice that there's like newspaper spread out all over the floor.
Yeah, until it's
Like
too
he
late.
does mention like, wow, you got a dog, Halberstram? We got a little Yorkie. What's up with the style section all over the floor?
Yeah,
And that's when we get him in the raincoat dancing with the axe, talking about Huey Lewis in the news.
beautiful axe by
And
the way.
then, huh?
Beautiful axe. It's so like nice and chromed out. Like I think it
Yeah, I
was
noticed.
probably a designer axe.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, it was extremely shiny. You could tell it's never touched a piece of wood in its life. Yeah, so he kills him, and there. At this point, we're starting to get more murders and stuff, and I'm having trouble keeping track of like where he's leaving the bodies, and you know, I think
Yeah,
he
it's hard to tell which
dissolves.
apartment that he's in.
Yeah, he dissolves Owen in like a vat of acid or something. I think, or
Oh, I
like,
thought that was the one that he had put in the bag and then taken outside, and then he ran into Lewis and somebody else's girlfriend.
yeah, in the movie, that's what he does. Yeah, true. You're right. In the movie, he runs
Okay,
into him and he's like, "Ooh, where'd you get that designer bag?" As he's stuffing the body into the back of a cab.
yeah, it's couture.
One of my favorite chapters, he goes on a date with his ex girlfriend Bethany.
Yeah,
Uh,
she
he ends
almost
up like,
escaped.
yeah, yeah. She was so close to not going back to his apartment. I like this chapter because he's so like clumsy, and it's the first time you really see him not confident and kind of stumbling over his words and like not really knowing what to say. And he writes her a racist poem and makes her read it out loud, and it's there's all these like red flags, and still she ends up going back to his apartment.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Do you think that in his mind that it was actually a love poem or some kind of sentimental poem? Or do you think he was just like, hey, I made this piece. Read it out loud.
He mentions that he used to write her dark poetry in college.
Right.
So I guess this is just his version of some more dark poetry,
Okay.
but it's like extremely racist. And like people in the restaurant nearby are like kind of giving him sideways glances and stuff. This is where she mentions that she is dating a chef and co-owner of Dorsia, which is like the fancy restaurant in the book that everybody's trying to get a reservation to, and he can never get one to. He's always like jealous when Owen can get a reservation there, or anyone. He finally convinces her to go back to his apartment and tortures her with a nail gun, knives, and mace, and then chews some of her fingers off, cuts her tongue out, and then sexually assaults her.
Yeah. And this is the first one where he starts eating them, right? This is where we first get into the.
Yeah, this is the first mention of him eating any piece of them. Yeah.
That's crazy. And then using mace too.
Right.
It's like such an
Right.
odd tactic.
Yeah, you could tell he's really just throwing shit against the wall. He's constantly using different tactics. At one point, he like way later in the book, he gets a rat out of the toilet and keeps it, and then ends up using that to torture a girl with.
Hmm.
You don't get that in the movie.
No.
I don't know how they could have done
And
that
he even, I
tastefully in the
forget what it
movie.
was called. What do they call the little tubes that the hamsters go in?
I don't know. I would call it
It
just
was,
a hamster tunnel or something.
I think I want to say it's called a habit trail.
Oh, maybe.
Um, but so he talks about having to use a drill to um, extend an orifice so that it can fit the habit trail to use
Yeah,
the
yeah. So
mouse.
he could get the rat inside
And
her.
it's like, just listening to it, it's like, oh my, this is the most absurd shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like looking around, making sure nobody could tell how disgusted I am at what I'm listening to.
Yeah. Am I going to be on a list for listening to this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm trying not to take too much time on any of these one things because there's just so much. There's so much in this book. There's so much violence, so much of like the descriptions. It's kind of a long book for what ends up being not a lot of plot development. He ends up after this taking Jean on a date, his secretary, who I actually thought was the only sympathetic character in the whole book.
Yeah.
Maybe the detective, but mainly it's Jean. She's the only one who you like really root for or you want anything good for. Like Evelyn's okay, but she's cheating on him, so obviously she's not innocent in all this, and she's got her own like status concerns, and she's really not that relatable. And Jean
Mm-hmm.
is just seems like she's just like a nice girl who's got a job and she wants to do her best, and she's got a crush on Patrick. Uh, and he finally gets bored one day and takes her to, well, she wants to go to Dorsia. He asks her where she
Mm-hmm.
wants to go, and she shyly picks Dorsia.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell right away that Patrick's kind of pissed off that he has to like try to get a reservation at Dorsia because everyone can get one but him, and
Yeah. Oh, I love
and
how he does. I think he does the phone call twice in the movie, but he does the phone call and they're just laughing at his face,
mhm,
for trying to make reservations 5 hours away from dinner. And he's
right,
like, yeah, no, 6 o'clock, I'll be there.
yeah, yeah. And she's like, you didn't even give your name. Oh, they know me there.
They know me. Not a big deal.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. And then when he like shows up, they don't have the reservation, obviously. So he kind of just like skims the roster of who's supposed to be coming in and just picks a name.
Mm-hmm.
And they get a table, and Gene's kind of confused about like, that's not your name. And then,
Clutch move, by the way, that could be a fun date for regular people that aren't trying to hurt anybody.
yeah, he was so embarrassed, but she thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, you're so funny. You have such a funny sense of humor." And she ends up inviting him back to her apartment, and he declines, which is good. I didn't want to see Jean get murdered. I can't, spoiler alert, she does make it out alive, and I was happy about that.
Yeah. Was he the one she was on a date with where he was like, she could be my next victim, but I don't want her to be? And then
It was
he
either
asked her like a slew of questions where it was like, do you have a name brand this? Do you have one of those? Do you have a briefcase?
yeah, yes.
Was that
Is
the
it
date with her?
designer? Yeah,
Yeah.
she had one of the things, and he was like, "Is it designer?" And she was like, "No."
It's a
Yeah,
small
I
one.
I think that was Jean. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was where I got confused, where I was almost sympathetic for him because the way that he walks you through the thought process, um, you get the idea that he like understands this level of craziness, but he's only exacting it a certain way. He's like, I could be this person, but I
Hmm.
can't. I can't.
Yeah, he does. He has some thoughts about Jean of like, maybe I could just have a life with her. You know, Everyone's interchangeable anyway, so why not her? Why can't I just have a happy life with her? But I think maybe he knows that he's fucked up, and maybe he realizes that Jean's the only like good person around, and he doesn't want to ruin her. I don't know. Maybe there's just a an ounce of some kind of conscience, like way, way, way deep down that like won't let him kill Jean. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think,
Uh,
and it appears, I know it's in the closet, and then he alludes to it later, something that Tim Price wrote, but it was the kill all yuppies or whatever.
mhm.
And I think that that was the modem of what he was going through is, as much as he wants to be a part of this culture, he actually fucking despises it.
Yeah, yeah. We get a little bit more of Jean later. Well, actually, in the movie, before we get past that, they don't actually go to the restaurant. They never make it out of his apartment. And while they're still in the apartment, he gets a call from Evelyn. They're talking about like, are you dating anyone right now? And he's like, I don't know, not really. You know. But then Jean calls and leaves the message, and she's like, "Do you want me to go?" And he has her leave. Like he actually had the nail gun up to the back of her head. He was gonna take her out,
Yeah.
which obviously they're at a restaurant in the movie, so that doesn't, or in the book, so that doesn't happen.
Hmm.
Um, Now, finally, after several chapters and several, maybe 100 pages, I can't remember exactly how far, but he's killed Owen. He does all this other stuff. He goes on the date with Jean, and then finally the detective comes to his office. In the book, it happens right after the murder.
Hmm.
Wait, did I say book or movie? In the movie, it happens right after the murder. In the book, it takes forever to get to. But Detective Kimball comes and visits him and starts questioning him about uh, Paul Owen's disappearance, and that's when we get Willem Dafoe, who,
Can't miss. That man can't
yeah,
miss.
yeah, he's great. We actually get more interviews in the movie than we do in the book. It's the one thing that the movie does more of than the book does, and
Hmm.
when you have Willem Dafoe on set, you got to use him. You can't, you
Gotta use
can't,
that man.
can't leave him on the bench.
Yeah. And he does a great job at the investigation as well, where he's just kind of picking things up and putting them back down and like, oh, I thought you said that was at this time, or you said you were over there.
Right. He's kind of catching Patrick in some lies almost and inconsistencies in his story.
But he's not
Uh,
pushing too hard. He's also doing a lot of flattery, playing along with, oh, wow, kids going to Dorsey. That's really sick.
yeah, yeah. I know how busy you guys can be. And then he's
Yeah.
like stuffing the porn and stuff into the drawer or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, he brings up the Huey Lewis and the News CD. I felt like in the movie they really tried to make it look more like he was actually doing an investigation other than just like kind of checking some boxes off. In the book,
Yeah.
it doesn't really seem like he's actually pushing that hard.
Yeah.
He even mentions like, "Do you feel like you're being cross-examined?" And Bateman's like, "No, not really." But he is frazzled by the detective coming to see him because you can tell he's not used to any of his violent deeds coming back to haunt him.
Yeah. Oh, that's another trend that I really like that they kept coming with the movie is that every time somebody comes in the office, he's pretend on the phone.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, that's funny.
The
No,
pocket
never
square
tip.
goes on the left side.
Yeah, yeah. No, you never tip the salon owner. Only the
Yeah.
technician. You
Whereas,
never.
when would that come into conversation?
Right.
I've never been
Well,
to a
actually, but
salon. Like, can somebody get the owner for me, please? Actually,
yeah, yeah. Well, they're all trying to seem fancy all the time by throwing their money around. I could see him doing that. Like, let me see the owner of this establishment. This is such a good place. I need to make sure I tip
this
him.
guy deserves $20.
Right. Yeah. Uh, Now we get another segment with the prostitutes. Uh, he brings a date. Well, okay, so it's one prostitute and his date. He calls the call girl from earlier. In the movie, he just picks her up on the street, but I think in the book he calls her.
Yeah.
And he has a date with him and he spikes their wine with ecstasy.
Hmm.
And he's trying to convince the girl like, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if you had a three-way with this girl?"
Yeah.
And she's
You
like,
ever been with a
Patrick,
girl? It was the first time for everything.
Patrick, I'm not a lesbian.
And I think
Uh,
he even tells him, he's like, well, the ecstasy in your wine will be having you thinking different in about 20 minutes.
I don't think he actually ever tells him that. I don't think they know because she's asking for like a Xanax or a Halcium. I would kill for a Halcium right now.
Do you know
You
what
know?
that is? I meant to look it up, but I didn't.
No, no,
Hmm. I
no.
wasn't sure
There's
if
a
that
lot
was a
of
real one or not.
yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Um, I thought it was funny in this scene when he doesn't know how to explain that it's a prostitute, so he tells her it's his cousin.
Yeah. That's my cousin. Oh, that makes
Right.
it normal.
Yeah. So, he really has to bribe the one girl to get her to come back because she had to go to the ER after last time, and one of her friends suggested she get a lawyer. So, he's trying to pay her off. And then, the ecstasy starts kicking in. They all start having sex. And at one point, the prostitute tries to leave, and then she looks over and there's blood on the sheets. And Christian Bale, pulls his head out of the sheets and he's like mouth's covered in blood and he just looks like ravenous and crazy and chases her down and starts like biting her leg
Hmm.
while she's trying to run away. And that's when we get
Yeah, and she's running through the house and finding bodies and
oh yeah, so good. Yeah, that is great. I think I could be wrong. I think that scene is two scenes combined from the book
I think so too.
because they have the date and stuff and he kills them and then later he takes two prostitutes to Owen's apartment.
Hmm.
But I think they combine those two scenes together. And there's no chainsaw in the book as far as I remember. I don't think he
No, that was just a cinematic masterpiece.
yeah.
The way that he's just like following her around the stairs
Yes.
and then he
Oh my
drops
god.
it. The hit is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, just to time
Well,
the trajectory
I don't know a
to
whole
know
lot
that
about
she's going that
chainsaws.
way.
I don't know a lot about chainsaws. The blade doesn't spin while you're not pulling the trigger, does it?
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I
Not
mean,
that
I was thinking maybe the blunt force. I mean,
it
it would
was a
definitely
high
be painful, but I don't know if it's going
yeah,
to rip through you.
right. Yeah, so this is an interesting scene. He chases her out of the room with the chainsaw and he's revving it. He's got his little white sneakers on and he's buck ass naked covered in blood.
Running through the hallways.
So if you can suspend disbelief to not, where are all the people in this apartment? It's New York. There should be people everywhere. And he's just running, chasing her down, and she's like screaming and freaking out and pounding on the doors. It's so exciting and so, visceral. He's
Hmm.
running, like you said, to the stairs, and then you see her trace the whole path of the stairs all the way down, and he's kind of like aiming the chainsaw, trying to wait for his perfect moment to just drop it on her. Nails her.
And they even show it in the movie. It just flips and it still hits her square.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, that's a real,
yeah. He's got good aim.
he pured it.
Yeah. So even though it was
But
kind of unbelievable, I
that
really
does
enjoyed
allude
that.
to a modern problem as well, where they're talking about there's a lot of buildings in New York and apartments and stuff that are just completely vacated, and it's just kind of some property write off for somebody who
Oh,
lives in China or Switzerland or whatever.
that's
So I
true. I
imagine
don't
the
think.
same thing was probably going on while shit was popping in the 80s.
Yeah, but I don't think at like a swanky place like that it would be. Tom Cruise lives there.
I thought that he did that at Paul Allen's place.
Nope. Tom Cruise lives in his apartment complex. They even mention.
Oh no, I meant the chainsaw thing. I thought he did that at Paul Allen's.
You're right. But that's going to be a fancy place too. Paul Owens running or he's handling the Fisher account,
True. Yeah.
so he's going to be living in a swanky place too. He actually is jealous of Paul Owens' apartment in the book.
Yeah, he's got a little bit better view of Times Square.
Yeah, you're right. But he was at Owens' house. Again, these are two scenes put together. So in
Yeah.
in the book, the prostitute, him and his date are at his place, and then later he brings the two other prostitutes to Owen's place. Uh,
I'm sorry. It's just, just talking about it so casually. It's still,
Yeah, yeah, it's so much. He mentions in the interview that like everyone always talks about the violence, but if you condense all the violence down, it's only like a few pages compared to like 390 pages of just lists and social satire and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but the violent scenes are pretty fucking
they
violent.
stand out so hard. And I think the contrast of it where it's so mind numbingly tedious compared to that it bores you out, and then the
Hmm.
aggressive violence. Um, I feel like they balance well. I feel like that's why the book's still worth a read,
Yeah,
you know, because it eventually
definitely.
does pay off where you get the understanding of the broader picture that they're trying to paint, but it takes so long to pay off.
Right. I agree. Um, so in between those two scenes that we were talking about, we get a scene that's not in the movie. And I'm kind of sad about it. Is where I'm not sad because I wanted to see this happen, but there was definitely some comedy to be had in this scene where he kills the boy at the zoo.
Yes. Yeah.
He
And that's another one where I feel like they just kind of a Hollywood safe take, probably.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be tough to like have him slit a boy's throat at the zoo, throw him behind a trash can, have his mom find him, and then go, "Oh, excuse me, miss, I'm a doctor," and
Yeah. I almost
he tells,
forgot that he said he was a doctor and he came up and tried to help. It was so
and
fucking terrible.
right, he acts like he's a doctor, and then he's pretended to try to help, and there's like a cop there. It's like that's a bad cop. You should be questioning that guy a little bit more. I think.
Yeah.
You should be blocking off the scene. Don't let anybody leave. This is now a murder investigation. You know, oh, you're not really a doctor? That's pretty suspicious. You know, but
Did they get to that on the scene? That he
no,
wasn't actually a doctor, or that he just kind of
no,
fades away eventually?
he kind of just
Jump to the
pretends
next
to be a
track.
doctor and then lets the kid die and then kind of leaves, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, and then he gets sad because he says killing a child isn't as fun as killing an adult because not as many people miss the kid that would miss the adult.
Oh, I took that kind of differently. I thought he was saying that whereas there's somebody has something established, like this thing's kind of full of potential. It doesn't really have a story yet. You're not taking anything away from it.
Hmm. I read it as like more people knew the adult because he's had a longer life, so they're gonna like be more sad about the adult dying than the kid dying. And he also like just hates to see people having a good time because he just seems like he's incapable of it. Like he
Yeah.
gets mad because people like the seals at the zoo. Then we finally get to the point where he's like with Evelyn at the restaurant and he feeds her the urinal cake,
Hmm.
uh, which I think they really backloaded all the good stuff into the second half of the book
Yeah.
because we're really starting to pick up and get some of the funny moments and some of the like interesting things that he does that just don't make any sense.
And it
So
ramps so hard.
yeah,
Like you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Wait, what? And then it
yeah,
just continues.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think after he makes his phone, is this before the phone call with the lawyer or right before?
This is before. This is before. Yeah, this is right
Oh,
before.
okay.
Actually, you're right. You're right. We got a couple good things before we get there, but we're almost there.
Yeah, I feel like this is the kicker. This is where it starts getting just absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, he takes her to a fancy restaurant, and he earlier had taken a urinal cake from somewhere and then taken it home, put it in a mold, covered it in chocolate, froze it, brought it to the restaurant, gave it to the waiter, said, "Bring this out like I arranged this with you earlier, like I arranged this big surprise." And oh, Patrick, I love Godiva. She starts to eat it and she can't, but she doesn't want to be rude. So she takes a few bites and she's like you were talking earlier about it. It's so minty.
Yeah, and he's just having a giggle about who so many people have urinated on this.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they end up breaking up and like in the movie she's kind of making a scene and she kind of like shrugs it off like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry I even brought up the wedding." And she says something like, well, your friends are my friends and my friends are your friends, so it wouldn't really work if we broke up.
Yeah. And then he's, I thought about it. You can have him.
Yeah,
And it's
that
like,
that was
if
a
you
good
know
line.
the guy, you know that he's definitely busy. He's definitely going to make new friends.
Yeah,
So,
right. Yeah,
he's not taking a hit. He's just trying to continue his career.
yeah, yeah. He's definitely quick to make friends and meet women and stuff. They made him seem like more of a dork in the movie than in the book.
Hmm.
Uh, so then we get to the scene where he tries to cook and eat the girl, and I thought it was funny that like he just was failing at cooking her because he didn't know how to cook anything in his life.
Yeah. Yeah. He tried to make her into a sausage. Is that right?
Yeah, I think he tried to do different things with different body parts, but yeah, he did try to make some kind of sausage out of it,
And he
and I
just
think
sounds
he ends
so
up just
sad and conflicted because he's like, I just hope that I'm doing this right because I've never actually cooked anything.
yeah, I think he like eats part of her brain or something. So we've been ramping up, and we finally get to the the like the high point of the movie where he's like fully losing it, and he comes upon a street busker, someone playing, I think it was a saxophone or something.
Hmm.
In the movie, it was a little bit different. It was just some lady on the street when he's at the ATM, and
Right.
uh, at this point in the movie, they fit in where he's like the ATM machine's talking to him and telling him to feed him
Yeah.
the cat.
Yeah. That was
So
kind of a
like,
casual mention in the book. I felt like it was pretty standout in the movie.
yeah. Well, I thought what in the book you got a lot more of like the crazy shit that he's thinking. Like at one point he
Yeah.
mentions like faxing some girl's blood to her office.
Yeah. I think he had a couple instances of that. He tried to send one lady's mom her heart or something,
Yeah,
just stuff like that.
like a dehydrated heart or something. Yeah, faxing the girl's blood. I thought that was hilarious. It's just such a throwaway line, but it's so funny. And he mentions, so in the book, it mentions that the ATM machines are giving him cryptic messages, and a park bench followed him the other day and spoke to him.
I went right past that.
Yeah,
Damn.
see, yeah, see, that's one thing that sucks about the book having so much of like the descriptions of everything that you kind of glaze over that stuff, and then sometimes you end
Mhm.
up like skipping over some like awesome lines, like the park bench following you. So in this scene, he kills the street busker or the old lady, depending on the book or the movie. And there's a cop nearby that he doesn't notice, so you could tell he's getting a little bit sloppy and maybe a little too comfortable in the fact that nobody's really ever questioning him aside from the detective. So then
Mhm.
he's running through Manhattan trying to get away from the cops. He's like crashing into stuff. He steals a taxi in the book. He runs to what
Mhm.
he thinks is his office building, but oops, we switched buildings. So he runs in. The guy hits him with the, "Oh, Mr. Smith, how have you been?" And it's like obvious, like he's mistaken him for someone else. Bam,
Mhm.
kills that guy. Starts to run out of the building, hits the hits the turnstile, and then notices that there's a janitor. Goes full 360 back into the building, kills the janitor, runs back out,
That
gets to his
revolving
own
door shot
building.
is another great scene.
Yeah,
Just to throw that in there, him do, bam, back around.
yeah, yeah. That 360 was great. Like, oh shoot, can't leave any witnesses. Bam. All right, back out. Then he finally gets to his actual building, runs upstairs, calls, leaves the full confession. I killed this girl and I killed this person and I ate part of her brain and I think I must have killed 20 people.
Mhm.
Yeah, he leaves the full confession, and then we get a little bit about his family, his mom that has dementia. His Oh, he had a dinner with his
Yeah,
brother
a little bit
earlier.
of
I
a
forgot
story
to
with his
mention it.
brother. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of throwaway here.
Yeah.
Like it's
There's a
it's
little bit of,
surprising.
I thought that it was going to give you more of like, this is why he's this way. But I mean, it's just kind of par for the course, you know?
Yeah, yeah. There's really not a whole lot of backstory. This like I said, this is not a conventional story. It's really just like little snapshots. A lot of throwaway stuff. It's surprising how much good stuff you can fit in the movie when you just cut out all the bulk out of the book.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, well, it's I think it's like a 400-page book, and it comes down to hour and 20-minute movie,
yeah,
right about?
yeah. No, actually, I think it's an hour and 40. It's like an hour 40.
Okay,
Um, we get to the point where he goes to visit Paul Owen's apartment. He's still got the keys, so he just lets himself in. Which, if there really was a murder scene, they definitely would have changed the keys by now. But we can move past
true.
that. It's the '80s. Um, she asks him, "Did you see the ad in the Times?" There was no ad in the Times. Tricked you. Uh, like obviously the whole place has been cleaned up.
There's
Did he
absolutely
real?
no evidence of anything.
Yeah, no trace of anything at all. Did he really kill these people? Did he not? At this point, you really don't care because it's like you're not. If you've seen the movie, you're really not getting a concrete answer one way or the other.
Yeah.
I just feel a little
Yeah,
bit
I wonder what's
frustrated.
going through his mind at that juncture. Do you think that he's thinking like, "Oh, I'm gonna get away with it," or do you think he's thinking, um, "Did this even happen?" Do you think that he's got that wherewithal?
I don't know if he questions it until he talks to the lawyer and the lawyer mentions having dinner with Owen.
Mhm.
It could be that he's like, did I do this? It could be, do I am I going to get away with this? It could be, um, does she know what I did? Does she know that someone did something here and I'm just like weirdly showing back up? You know, a lot of ambiguity. Sometimes it was nice. Sometimes it kind of made me mad. It's like again, like, are there any stakes to this or not? He goes on another. I think he goes on another date with Jean, and she's like confessing her love for him. He tells her he loves someone else. I think this is when he has the thoughts of like, maybe we should just be together.
Yeah.
I think he like buys her Christmas presents and like sends them to her apartment. He has
Oh,
no
yeah,
idea what
he's
he's
like
doing.
he goes on a slew of, like he sends some fucked up shit to some other people, and then he buys some nice Christmas presents and sends them to Gene.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, we're getting towards the end here. He meets up with his lawyer, and the lawyer did not believe his confession. He didn't even realize he was talking to Bateman. He's like, "Oh, that was you. That was hilarious." You know.
Yeah, and I think the lawyer even called him 2 different names in that scene. He starts by calling him Davis, and then at the end, I think he calls him Davidson.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, and he's like
And it's just,
that.
it's just like, man, everybody's faceless and nameless, but they're all chasing the status.
Yeah, that was a funny joke, Davis. But Patrick Bateman's such a dork. There's no way he could have done all that.
Yeah, total pushover.
Yeah. And then he like keeps insisting, like, no, I did this. I really did this.
Mhm.
And it's like, you couldn't have done this. I had dinner with Paul Allen, Paul Owen,
However many
two
days ago
weeks,
in London.
10 days ago, 10 days ago. So that's when you like start to see the look on his face, like, well, did I really do this? But with the mistaken identity, who did he really have dinner with? You never know.
Right.
So that's something that was really done well. Uh, is like it really almost there's no like definitive in my eyes. There's no definitive one way or another. Is he actually doing this or not?
Yeah, the only thing you confirm is that he's definitely not.
Yeah.
He's an American psycho.
Right. Exactly. Did they say it in the movie?
No, I don't think so.
I keep meaning to pay attention to that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but I get so like wrapped up.
And
So
this one was
in the
hard.
end,
I actually feel like this was kind of a lot to bite and chew for our second
he,
episode in hindsight.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
thinking
I,
it
I
was
kind
gonna
of
be I was thinking it was gonna be a walk in the park, and then as soon as we started getting details, I was like, "Oh shit."
yeah, I have trouble keeping everything straight. That's why I have so many notes on it, and it's like even my notes, I'm like, did I get this right? Did I write this down right? Is this when this happened? And then you add in the confusion of the movie going in a different order than the book. I'm sure we left out a ton of good stuff. I'm sure I messed up a couple things, but we're at the end of the story and nothing really changes. Everything kind of goes on and keeps going on. There's no consequences. Uh,
I think there's a couple more murders, maybe.
yeah, I can't remember. Um, there's a sequel. Uh,
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to watch that. What's your takeaway?
it's an obvious money grab. Like the first one's so good. The second one kind of ruins it. It's almost like an Donnie Darko kind of situation where the sequel's so disconnected from the original that it shouldn't have been made at all. It's like you hired a director who'd never seen the first one and kind of gave him the cliff notes and then just said, "All right, make another one. Crazy, make another movie about a crazy person in America who kills people." It's starring Mila Kunis and William Shatner, and it's a wonder that Mila Kunis ever had a career after like some of her early stuff because like this is just so bad. It's just
So
so
that was
not a
her that was on the cover.
yeah. It's so not a part
Oh,
for
okay.
her. That's not even funny. She's like I don't know, 100 pounds soaking wet, and you're supposed to take her seriously as this like psychotic killer. Uh, just to run down the story just a little bit. I don't want to get too deep into it, but she's in college. It reads kind of like a college like hijinks kind of movie where she's in college and she wants to accomplish something, so she's going through these elaborate kind of schemes to like get what she wants. She one of her
Mm.
teachers, I gotta back up even a little bit more. In the very beginning, she is with her babysitter, and her babysitter goes on I think a date with Patrick Bateman, and Patrick Bateman murders her, and she kind of murders her babysitter, and she escapes and murders Patrick, and so now she's kind of got the taste for murder. She actually just leaves the scene,
Whoa.
and she's never questioned about it or anything. And fast forward, she wants to be in the FBI, so she's in college, and one of her professors used to work for the FBI. He worked on the Bateman case, uh, and she wants to become his teacher's assistant because whoever gets the TA position is like a shoe in to get into Quantico to become an FBI agent. So that's like her goal. And she's got like three people that she's competing against for the position. And she goes through and systematically murders them to secure her spot as the teacher's assistant to get into Quantico to become an FBI agent, blah, blah, blah. Uh,
So she actually has. There's a method. It's not just she's crazy and she's killing people. It's like
there's
she's
a motive.
climbing the murder ladder.
There's a motive, and that's one of the big things that's like so disconnected from the original. It's like she's not a psycho. She's got like a plan. Well, she's a psycho, but she has a plan that she's trying to enact by killing people, which is like, if you know anything about like serial killers, it's like that's how you get caught is by killing people that you know, people you're connected to. Uh, she kills a guy with a condom, like strangling him with a condom, and it's some of the worst acting I've ever seen. The guy's like barely trying to get away. It's like she's so small, you just elbow her in the face and then you're free. Like it
Even
was
just the condom
so
as a weapon. It's like, oh no, a 5 millimeter piece of plastic.
well, it's silicone and that
It's
stuff's. I
interesting.
mean, that stuff's pretty strong. I don't know if you ever seen like Howie Mandel put it over his head and like, you know,
Hmm.
isn't that him that does that? Wasn't that one of his
Yeah.
bits?
Yeah, he had to stop doing it. I
Yeah,
think it was
those things
fucking
are
up his
pretty strong
sizes.
though. I think you probably could strangle someone with it if you weren't like a young girl.
Yeah. We'll
Um,
do, you know what? Subscribe to the Patreon. We're going to test that. And we're going to see
yeah,
if Tyler can strangle me with a condom.
yeah. If we get enough subscribers, we'll see if I could strangle Justin with a condom. So don't
Yeah, it
watch
does
it,
sound
or do
like it.
watch it. I don't really care. They're both on Paramount Plus. You can watch them back to back and just see the complete tonal differences between the two. Like even the music was kind of like upbeat, kind of
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know,
did
early two
they
thousands
do
girl
music? Did
upbeat.
they do music stuff with that?
No,
Like, did
no,
she
there
get?
was
There wasn't any like hyper scenes where she's like, "I fucking love a pocket full of sunshine."
no, no. Yeah, like I said, it was like a kind of like a college hijinks movie mixed with like a early 2000s slasher. All right, so let's start with the book. Out of five, what do you give the book?
Out of 5, I'm giving the book a 3.
Yeah,
I think it's fair. There's just so much. I mean, so much to deal with to get
Hmm.
to the actual what the writer's doing. And I think that it is a part of what the writer's doing. I think that it's all intentional, but at the same time, it's like, dude, I'm fucking drowning here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm pretty close on the book. I'm at a 3.5. I ended up enjoying the book, and the more I think about it, the more I go over the material and think about it, the more I like it. I would have probably been lower if I had just read it one time and stopped thinking about it. I probably would have ended up around a 3 like you. I think a 3.5 may be fair. I could see myself doing the audiobook again, if I'm on a dry spell with nothing to listen to.
Definitely. If anything, to go back and pick up the nuggets of all the things that you missed because of the drowning content.
Right, right. Let's see. The movie. What do you give it? Out of five?
Oh, 5.
5 stars?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm pretty close as well. I'm at a 4.5 on that one.
Hmm.
So I put the movie and the book a little bit closer together than you do. I think there's stuff that could have been included. I think we could have seen more of his crazy thoughts and antics in the movie.
Hmm.
That would have been a little bit fun. Uh, so yeah, I'm at a 4.5.
It's legit.
Yeah, for the sequel, just for the sake of completeness, I gave it a 1.5.
Nice.
Yeah, there was a little
It's
there's a
very
little bit of
generous.
it that it was interesting to watch, but it wasn't good. So
Hmm.
1.5. Don't watch it. It's not worth it.
How's the book for American Psycho 2? Did you read that one?
No, I don't think that exists.
No.
So, if you like what we're doing, check us out on Instagram, YouTube, Amazon Music, Spotify. Comment, rate. Let us know what you think. What are your opinions on American Psycho? Was the book better? Was the movie better? We think the movie's better, but I've seen a lot of people that think the book is better. Tell us what you think. If you want to watch it, it's free on Amazon. One and two are both free on Paramount Plus, at least at the time of the recording.
Hmm.
Feel free to check those out. Think outside the box office. Um, yeah, I guess we're gonna get out of here. I gotta return some videotapes.
Yeah, I got a reservation, so
All right, I'll talk to you later.
bye.